Okay, so today, like I said, we're going to focus on the rest of our solids. So we're going to focus on a pyramid, and again, we're going to do volume. Formula for volume, again, I'm on those pages we have in our notebook. Formula for volume of a pyramid, capital B is the area of the base times the height of the pyramid, and then you're going to divide it by 3. We're also going to look at the cone. So here's my cone. Volume of a cone, here I have it circled. You're going to take pi r squared times the height and divide it by 3. So this one, you're going to need to use that pi button on your calculator rather than the abbreviation of 3.14, and we'll practice that. And the last one we're going to take a look at today is the sphere. This is like your ball shape. You know, you got basketball, a shot put, softball, baseball, etc. They all have that spherical shape. So volume of a sphere is 4 pi r cubed divided by 3. So again, this is another one where you're going to need to use that pi button on your calculator to make it work. Seth, you with us here? Okay, so let's start with the first column here. I'm going to look at the one that is about a cone. So everybody on the right page here. So I want to find the volume of a cone. Okay, so if I'm looking at this one, it says find the volume of a right circular cone that has a height of 7.6 inches and a base with a radius of 11.1 inches. And it says round your answer to the nearest tenth. Tenth would be like one place after your decimal. So if you need to, look back at your volume page, but I don't need to. So volume is pi r squared times your height divided by 3. So if I look at, again, my problem, I'm going to leave pi in there for now. My radius is 11.1, and then I'm going to square it. I'm going to take that times the height, which is 7.6 inches, and again, I'm going to divide it by 3. So at this point, it probably would be simpler to grab your calculator. It doesn't matter what kind of calculator you have. So I'm going to take 11.1, and I'm going to square it, which is 123.21. Then I'm going to multiply that by 7.6. So I get this 936.396. And then I'm going to divide that by 3. I get 312.132. So it's this pi. So in this problem, it's 312.132 pi. And again, we want an exact answer. So I'm going to take my decimal times pi. And if I'm rounding to the nearest tenth, you can see, hopefully, if I hold it up better on the screen here. There we go. So it's 980.59, etc. So what should I round this to if I'm doing nearest tenth? So my answer in the computer is going to be 980.6, and that's what I would type in. It's going to already have the cubic inches there for me. So again, a lot of today is about given some information, can you plug it into a formula to calculate volume? So I've got it identified already in my notebook. You know, the first column here is volume of cones. The second column we're going to do is on pyramids, and the other page is on spheres and hemispheres. Okay, questions on the first one? Put the phone away, please. Okay, on the second one, it says find the volume of a right circular cone that has a height of 18.8 inches and a base with a diameter of 14.3. So, little different twist on it. Okay, so again, formula for a volume of a cone is pi r squared h divided by 3. So if they tell me the diameter, how do I find the radius? Because I only care about the radius. What do I have to do with the diameter? Divided by 2. Okay, so if I take 14.3 divided by 2, it is 7.15. So 7.15 is my radius, so I'm going to square that. It tells me in the problem the height is 18.8. And again, in my formula, I always divide by 3 for a cone. So if I grab my calculator again, so I'm going to take 7.15 squared, which is 51.1225. I'm going to take that times 18.8, which is 961.03. I'm going to divide it by 3, so I get this decimal Sorry about that. 320.367, etc. And what am I missing yet? I have to multiply it by... What did I miss in the problem yet? I didn't use pi. So if I take that times pi, so again, there's my pi symbol. I don't want to use 3.14. I want to actually use pi. And you can see on my screen here, I have 1006.4647, etc. So if I'm rounding to the nearest tenth, what am I going to round that to? 0.5. So I'm going to have 1006.5, again, cubic inches. So again, you're going to be doing these today in Delta Math. I'm just trying to show you how you plug it into the formula and where I'm getting my end result from. So again, please do not use 3.14 on your calculator. Use the pi button. If you don't have a pi button on your calculator, then you're going to use the calculator that's an option in Delta Math. Okay, so third one. One more on a cone. So it's again, says find the volume of a cone. It has a height of 4.9 centimeters, and it has a base circumference of 8.4 centimeters. Again, you're going to round your answer to the nearest tenth of a cubic centimeter. So again, formula for volume is pi r squared height divided by 3. We know the height. It tells us in the problem that the height is 4.9. I need to figure out the radius. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the formula for circumference. If you look back in your notebook at our wheel, if you need to, for a circle, if I flip it open, circumference right here is 2 pi times the radius. So the first thing I'm going to do is plug in circumference to help me find my radius. So if circumference is 2 pi times the radius, I know the circumference is 8.4. So again, that equals 2 pi r. So how do I figure out what r is in this problem? What do I need to do? How do I get r by itself on the right side? I need to divide by 2 and pi, right? So if I divide both sides by 2 pi, so again, if I'm going to take my calculator, I'm going to take I got to turn it on first, sorry about that. 8.4 divided by 2, and then I'm also going to divide it by pi. So I get my radius. Can you guys read that? Like 1.36, etc. So let's round the radius to 1.3. It's not exactly 1.3, but the other decimals are giving me nearest tenth, so I'm going to go ahead and go with that. So in my formula now, I'm going to plug in 1.3 for the radius, for the r. So again, I'm going to take my calculator, and I'm going to do 1.3 squared times, what's the height? 4.9. I need to divide that by 3, and then I need to finally multiply that by pi. So again, if the directions say round to the nearest tenth, what would you round that to? 8.7. And again, it would be cubic centimeters. So you're going to have 3 different types of problems in your cone section. They're either going to give you the radius and the height. Yeah. Okay, so again, the 3 different problems you're going to have in your cone section. They're either going to give you the radius and the height and ask you for volume. They'll give you the height and the diameter and ask you for volume. Or they're going to give you the height and the circumference and ask you for volume. All of these problems for today are asking you about volume. We're not doing surface area. It's kind of like going to the doctor's office. They probably don't have stuff right now with COVID, I'll be honest with you. But you ever been to the different offices and they have like a paper cone cup that you fill with water from their water tank? Or maybe at some sporting events you get like a paper cone cup for water. So that's your cone, like how much water fits in your cone. I don't know if any of you ever been to some of the craft fairs they used to have. You could get like a cone full of like almonds or like some type of, candy, etc. It's a lot of times in that paper cone. Or think about, do you guys ever still get cotton candy when you go to the different fairs? Isn't the stick at the bottom kind of like a cone? Or think about an ice cream cone, like a sugar cone. My daughter does not like it when you pile ice cream on top. She just wants you to pack the ice cream in the sugar cone, and that's what she wants. You know how a lot of times you put like that hemisphere on top of your cone? If you just pack the cone solid, that would be how much ice cream you can contain in it. And generally, we're talking about volume. And I should have said before, everybody knows what a cone looks like, right? If you draw a picture over here on the side, think about that party hat maybe you had when you were a kid, or maybe you still have it. There's your radius, there's your height. Okay? Now, the reason we divide by 3, did you guys do the Desmos activity the other day? When I asked you how many did it take to pour in? Mm-hmm. It was 3. That's why you divide it by 3 for a cone. Okay, so the next one. The next column is pyramid. Okay, pyramids do not use pi in your answer, so we don't have to worry about rounding so much. So again, for a pyramid, we're going to do volume as the area of the base times the height divided by 3. And the ones we are going to focus on are honestly square pyramids. There are other types of pyramids, but for our purposes in here, we're going to focus on the square ones. Okay, so on the first one, it says find the volume of a pyramid with a square base. Like I said, we're going to focus on square ones. When the area of the base is 16 square meters and the height of the pyramid is 25.4 meters, write your answer to the nearest cubic centimeter. So again, volume of a pyramid is area of the base times the height divided by 3. Notice, they gave me area of the base. It says right here, area of the base is 16 square meters. So for my capital B, I'm going to plug in 16. It tells me the height is 25.4, so I'm going to plug in that for my height. And again, I'm going to divide it by 3. No pi when you're doing a pyramid because there's no circles. So I'm going to take 16 times 25.4, and I'm going to divide by 3. So if I am supposed to round to the nearest tenth, what would you round to? 135.5, right? So this would be 135.5 cubic meters. So these are a little shorter, in my opinion. That's just me, but they seem a little shorter. So again, my final answer to this one would be 135.5 cubic meters. Okay, am I going too fast for anybody?
Is it meters?
Cubic meters. Because volume, remember, is always in cubic units, like how many cubes fit inside of it. Okay, on the next one, I got 3 of these total here for the pyramids. It says, find the volume of a pyramid with a square base. Like I said, we're going to focus on just the square bases, where the perimeter of the base is 18.1 feet and the height is 28.1 feet. Again, round your answer to the nearest tenth. Okay, so hold on 1 second. So area of the base times the height divided by 3 is my formula. Now, it is a square base. So if I draw a square off to the side here. Okay, so you said take the perimeter and divide it by 4?
Yeah.
Okay, so 18.1 divided by 4 is 4.525. Okay, so if each side of my square is 4.525, how do I find the area of the square? Like, what's this side here then?
4.525.
Yeah, 4.525. So how do I find the area of our square? You're going to multiply them together. So take 4.525 times 4.525. So we're going to do, it's 20 point, I'm going to round it off, 476. We don't need to keep all the decimals. Okay, so we're going to take that times our height, which is what, 28.1? And then we're going to divide it by 3. So that times 28.1 divided by 3. Okay, so if I'm rounding to the nearest tenth, I get 191.788. What am I going to round to? Yes, 191.8, and that would be cubic feet. Do not round to the nearest whole number in the middle of your problem, especially in the end when you're trying to keep a tenth spot. Okay, so that one was one where they gave us the perimeter of the base, we had to figure out a side and then figure out area of the base. And again, the bases on all of your pyramid ones today are going to be squares because honestly, that's the most common one you deal with. There are other types. Some of them have triangles for a base, or a pentagon, or a hexagon, etc. Okay, we ready for the last one of a pyramid? Okay, so this one again says find the volume of a pyramid with the square base. That's what we keep talking about. Where the side length of the base is 18.5 inches. And the height of the pyramid is 10.9 inches. So again, volume is the area of the base times the height divided by 3. So I need to figure out the area of the base. I know the height is 10.9. And again, I'm going to divide by 3. So how do I find the area of this square?
You multiply it.
Okay, so I'm going to take 18.5 times 18.5. I get 342.25. So I'm going to take that times 10.9 and then divide it by 3. So if I'm in my calculator, you can see there I have 1,243.5. So again, 1,243.5 cubic inches. I'm going over this because, like I said, I don't know how much of a background you have in this. Okay, so we're going to go over cones, pyramids, and then last but not least, we have spheres. Okay, any questions on the first two? You're going to need the formulas. You know, I write them down every time. That's just me. I'm hoping eventually it starts to stick in your brain. So again, volume of a pyramid is the area of the base times the height divided by 3. Volume of a cone was pi r squared h divided by 3. Again, you divide them by 3 because it takes 3 of them to get to the prism or to the cylinder. Okay, so last but not least, volume of a sphere. So volume is 4 pi r squared divided by 3. Or I'm sorry, 4 pi r cubed divided by 3. So we're going to need to cube the radius. The radius is the only variable we have in our volume formula. There's no height, it's just the radius. So if we start off with an easy one, it says, what is the volume of a sphere with a radius of 6.9 feet run into the nearest tenth? Okay, so again, my formula right there. I'm going to plug in 6.9 for the radius. So I'm going to do 4 pi times 6.9 cubed divided by 3. Okay, so depending on your calculator, my calculator will do this all at once. I'm thinking for some of you, you might need to type it in steps. So if I do 6.9 to the third, that gives me 328.509. I got to take that times 4. I got to divide it by 3, and then finally take it times pi. So if I'm going to round to the nearest tenth, I get 1,376.05 makes that a 1. So again, 1,376.1 cubic feet. This, again, a lot of this today is using your calculator. That's why I'm putting mine in front of the screen here. Do not round and use 3.14. There are some situations where Delta Math will tell you you are wrong, and it's because you rounded too much, and it gets frustrating. That's why I'm telling you to use the pi button, not 3.14. Okay? Second one. Am I going too fast? Okay, so this one. Let me ask you guys, what is a hemisphere? Anybody know what a hemisphere is? Gentlemen. It's half a sphere. So what I'm going to do, if I want to find the volume of a hemisphere, I'm going to take the volume of the sphere and just divide it by 2. Okay? So again, in my final answer, I have to divide by 2. So if I'm thinking about this for a volume, again, it's 4 pi r cubed divided by 3, and then at the end I'm going to divide it by 2. So my radius is 8.8. I'm going to divide it by 3 and divide it by 2. Do you guys realize that's the same thing as dividing it by 6? Because 3 times 2 is 6. So instead of dividing it by 3 and then by 2, I can just divide it by 6 because it's a hemisphere. Okay, so I'm going to grab my calculator again. So I'm going to take 8.8 to the third times 4 divided by 6. And then I still need to take it times pi. So if I'm rounding to the nearest tenth again, I'm going to have 1,427 point. Oh, I can't even show you there. 0.3. So again, 1,427.3 cubic centimeters. Okay, so in a sphere, you divide it by 3, right? So in a hemisphere, we divide it by 2 at the end. So if you divide by 3 and then divide by 2, that's the same thing as dividing by 6. So again, anybody need me to go through the calculations one more time? I'm going to take 8.8, I'm going to cube it, not square it, take it by 4 pi, and then divide it by 6. If you'd rather divide it by 3 first and then divide it by 2, you will get the same result. I'm just trying to save you a little step there. Okay. And the next one, we want volume of a sphere, but did they give us what we wanted? They gave us the diameter. Do we care about the diameter? What do we need to know? What do I need to know for my formula? The radius. Okay. So if the diameter is 2.2 feet, what's the radius? 1.1. So I'm going to plug it in. 4 pi r cubed. So 1.1 cubed. And then divide it by 3 because it is a regular sphere. It's not a hemisphere this time. So again, if I take my calculator and do 1.1 to the third, and I take that times 4, and I divide it by 3, and then multiply it by pi. If I'm rounding to the nearest tenth, I'm going to round that to 5.6. So 5.6 cubic feet. Is this looking familiar, anybody? No? Okay, yes.